Chopper, I get that Wapol is far from your favorite person in the world, but I'm doing the cover page series, and I kind of need to talk about him for this one. Is that acceptable? Okay, then. Good, Chopper. I get to talk about Wapol today. Fun! Well, I get to talk about Wapol's Omnivorous Hurrah, which is Wapol's cover page series, the 5th cover page series for the story. And this one it takes some time, given that there are like small little time jumps throughout it. This takes place just a little bit after Drum Island and sometime before the time skip. So a little bit up for debate during that time frame for exactly how it lines up, but that's what happens. It ran from chapter 236 to 262 and had 23 installments. Excuse me. Was that house I ate earlier? And it did actually technically get animated. It got animated into episode 778 during the Reverie time frame, because we don't see Wapol until the Reverie again. And for anyone who didn't read the manga, it's like, how the heck is Wapol here? This is the explanation as to how Wapol is here. So two things. A, in the anime, Wapol makes a suggestion in regards to his title of like having climbed back up the social ladder as being published as Wapol's Great Memoirs. So it's again, it's the reference to this Wapol's Omnivorous Hurrah type of a thing. And then also at 23 installments that don't depict just like a simple side story thing, like the Straw Hat separation arc is I think less than this, but that's divided up between all the different Straw Hats that are all separated, which we'll get to. Is the current story arc that is, I believe, the shortest pre-time skip. Or in regards to the shortest cover page arc pre-time skip. So hopefully this won't take too long. We'll see how off track I get. So the short summary of this is that Wapol has, because of what happened on Drum Island, he got defeated by Luffy and sent flying. And essentially this is his story about how he kind of like reclimbed the social ladder from going from nothing all the way up to being the king of a country again. Yeah, so that's essentially the long and short of it. Let's go in. Well, that was the short of it. We're going to go into the long of it now. So we have the first chapter. Even if I get killed, a great man such as I will not just die. I'm sorry, Wapol, you would be very happily forgotten by most people. Drum Island wants to forget about you. They have a whole new kingdom name now. That'll be brought up later. So, an unfamiliar island bears the footprints and bite marks of a very familiar individual. So this is Wapol has been sent flying by Luffy and ends up landing in one of the blues. And I think it's the West Blue is where he ends up. Ends up in the West Blue, I believe. It's West or South, because I know it's not the North, and I don't think it's the East Blue. So it's either the West or the South Blue. And I'm thinking it's the South Blue. And what ends up happening is, so he gets sent flying after Luffy, bazookaed him or whatever away from the castle. And which we'll get to see in season 2 of One Piece live action, so that'll be fun. And so he gets sent flying and he lands on this island and he starts just going around and eating everything because he's Wapol and that's just how he handles things. 2. My glorious essence shall consume a tree. And now we get the first of just several various things of just Wapol eating various things and changing shape. So he eats a tree as he continues across the island, and he ends up morphing into a tree of himself to amuse himself because reasons. I don't know. 3. My glorious essence shall consume a lamp, and he becomes a lamp Wapol. I think this was just Oda just wanting to be like, how stupid can I make Wapol look? It's like, you make him look pretty stupid here, Oda, so good job there. And he's like disturbing the wildlife, and he's got a lamp for a head and everything else like that because he's Wapol and he's an idiot. 4. My glorious essence shall consume a bench. So he eats a bench, and he's tormenting people on this new island, morphs into a bench, and just like reveals himself at the worst possible time. Like, I think we see like a couple on a date, and he just like scares the crap out of them. I'm like, F you, Wapol. F you. 5. Anytime, any place, any town is my treat. So now he's just running through the town on this island that did not ask for this by any means. And he's just throwing all caution to the wind and just starts eating all of the town as he's running around. Just eating the town in broad daylight. Just ooh, a bench. Ooh, a building. Ooh, a roof. Ooh, a storefront. Just poor town. Poor townsfolk. They did not ask for this by any means. 6. My glorious essence is gloriously arrested. Oh good, Wapol got arrested. Maybe that's where the story should have ended. Where the side story should have ended, with him getting his just desserts. But that's not how Oda works. So he gets arrested by 2 Marines for just all of his antics. He's also no longer a king anymore. He's been dethroned and everything like that. And he became a pirate anyway, so all of that. So they arrest him. And then we cut over to the newly named Sakura Kingdom with their newly appointed king, King Dalton. We cut away to Drum Island where we see this. And we see, this is, Dalton and his, Dalton and Kareha and the Lopins and stuff like that. The doctors are like starting to work on like rebuilding Drum Island, building up the Sakura Kingdom from what it had been before, seeing how far they've come without having Wapol there to, loom over them and everything else like that. So we kind of get that nice little thing. And then we get to 8, and it's my glorious essence makes its tearful escape. So Wapol somehow managed to free himself. I'm assuming these were not sea prism cuffs that they put on him. I don't think some random island is going to have sea prism stone cuffs, even if they have Marines, may not have them. Although the fact that they have Marines means that they are a world government affiliated nation already. So, yeah. And we have this of like him running away on like a beach at sunset as he's escaping. Just runs away from the Marines. 9. My glorious essence is king no longer. So Wapol is sitting in a junkyard at this point under a bridge where he is being tormented by local children and urinated on by a stray dog. This is the first appearance of Hakawan, who is Wapol's dog, who is a boxer, which is the same type of dog that Chip is. Who is not up here right now. He's downstairs with Mom. So this is like Wapol at his lowest. He is dirty. He is hungry. He is in a frickin' junkyard. Wapol at his lowest. Why can't he stay here? That would be nice. That'd be just desserts. But again, that's not the type of world that Oda draws. So then we move into 10. The Little Match Glory. So Wapol, it's now winter, tries to make a living selling matchsticks with about as much luck as the Little Match Girl did. So this is a reference to The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen. Oh, I think I have a copy of it downstairs. I know I have a copy of a couple of his stories downstairs. I think The Little Match Girl is one of them. He's, of course, the author who wrote The Little Mermaid. That, of course, The Little Mermaid from Disney is based on. And he wrote several other, I believe he wrote Thumbelina as well, and a few other fairy tales and stuff like that. He was quite prolific with his fairy tale writing. And The Little Match Girl is one of the ones that he also writes. In 1845 is when he writes it. And essentially, the Little Match Girl is this little, orphan, hungry, has no home, little child who's trying to sell matches to try to make money so she can get food and everything else like that. And throughout this one night, on a very, very cold winter, she keeps lighting the matches one after the other to try to keep herself warm. And she keeps hallucinating various things. She hallucinates food. She hallucinates a nice warm place to sleep. She hallucinates her grandmother at one point in time, and that's her last hallucination because she unfortunately freezes to death in the snow. Unfortunately. And she passes away, and she is, her grandmother's soul shows up and like takes her off to heaven. Like The Little Mermaid, this was adapted by Disney into a short that they did. It was originally supposed to be part of Fantasia. They were going to do another version of Fantasia in 2006 because they had Fantasia way back in the beginning, the original one, and then they had Fantasia 2000 where they kind of revived the idea, and then they were going to do a Fantasia 2006 to kind of keep up the idea of like changing out the pieces and adding in new ones. Didn't happen. But they still worked on The Little Match Girl, and they ended up turning into a short film instead. And it ended up, it was developed as a standalone and was actually nominated for the 2006 Academy Award for Best Animated Short, but it lost to The Danish Poet. Don't know. Not super familiar with that one. I'm sure it was good. I don't know. And you can watch it on Disney Plus, but it was also, the way I found out about it is because it was on the Platinum Edition for Little Mermaid in 2006 for the DVD Blu-ray combo it was DVD at that point in time. Blu-ray didn't exist quite in 2006, but they had the DVD combo that they had. And it was released on that as part of it because it's another Hans Christian Andersen one. And, it's on Disney Plus if you want to go watch it. It's cute. It's adorable. It's sad. It's heart-wrenching. Take your pick. Back to Wapol. I had more passion talking about that bit there, about the Little Match Girl, that has very little relevance to what is happening here in the story, than I do about talking about Wapol. That shows you how much I care about Wapol. Very little. I will go on a tangent that takes me roundabout to a Disney reference and be happy about it more than I am to have to do a video about Wapol. Don't ask me why. That's just the way my brain is designed. Moving on to 11. My Glorious Essence Under the Bridge. So now he's like under the bridge. He has no place to live. And he's just tired and crying and everything, and he's eating his way through this pile of abandoned toys because he has his Baku Baku no Mi and he can eat through the toys, so why stop him? It's one way to get rid of trash and recycle things. That's one thing Wapol is good at. Imagine the good that could have been done by someone who had this devil fruit, who actually cared about the environment. This devil fruit would be the perfect thing for someone who cares about the environment. They can eat their way through trash and through stuff that needs to be recycled and through other stuff like that that's like other people shouldn't be anywhere near any of this stuff, or it's like it's really bad for the environment. This person could eat through it and turn it into something very useful like Wapol's about to do. But yeah, his Baku Baku no Mi allows him to eat through the trash. So, 12. Baku Baku Factory. Glorious fun with the riverside junk. So, Wapol is just kind of amusing himself during the day, and he's using his powers to combine the junk that he eats and animals that wander near, so the dog, into making new and bizarre toys. So he's just like experimenting with that. Number 13, the children's hearts caught by my glorious toys. So Wapol, much to his own surprise, is his new little mutant toy things that he's developed are actually quite entertaining to the local children of this island, and they just start coming in droves to play with these things. Uh, I mean, they're interesting. I'll give them that. 14. Using toys to make my daily pittance. So Wapol has essentially set up a little, little Wapol's toy stand type of thing, Baku Baku factory, that he's setting up, and he is selling the toys to the eager kids for about 50 berry each, which is half of Chopper's bounty, or his original bounty at the very least. I love you, Chopper. You're a good Chopper. And so he starts selling them for that much. Actually, I think that is Chopper's original bounty. Is 50 berries. I'm sorry, Chopper. And then it's like 100 after a while, and then I don't remember what his current bounty is. More than that, but I don't remember what it is. Then we get into 15, my glorious grand opening of Wapol's Toy Shop. So again, more time is passing between these different areas. We don't know exactly how much time, but more time is passing. And it's in time, Wapol earns enough toy sales to upgrade his business into a crude roll-up stand. So instead of just having the kids come to the junkyard, he at least now has a slightly better looking ability to be able to take the toys for the kids to buy them, which is good. My 16, my glorious business instantly booms. So just to his shock, again, because Wapol's an idiot, it is again, Wapol just finds more and more children, and just more and with their reluctant parents coming to buy his toys. So the parents are just like, why are we here? This man attacked our town. He ate a bunch of things. He ate a bench. He scared my brother and his date off on the bench. I mean, they're married now and they're happy, but still. He still kind of ruined that date type of a thing. Thankfully, she gave him a do-over. So there's that. Yeah, I get it. It's kids and the latest toy craze, and I don't understand what a Labubu is, but why do I think Wapol's toys are kind of that setup of like whatever the heck a Labubu is? Wapol's toys at least look slightly cuter than a Labubu. The rabbit toy that he has is kind of fun looking. 17. The town scientist discovers the secret of Wapol's toys. So one of the younger kids ends up taking, young customers takes their toys back home, and their dad, who's just the resident scientist in town, ends up like, well, that's an interesting toy. Let me see what you got there. Takes the toy, looks it over, is like inspecting it, and realize that it's made of just very interesting metal. And it's like, well, this is kind of, this is definitely not something that's normal type of thing. It's not a metal I've seen before. And he's a scientist. He's not like a Vegapunk level scientist or anything like that, but he's still a scientist, so he's probably, a little more well read and like a little more up to date on some of that stuff. So 18, introducing the brand new alloy Wapol metal. So this is where we get into why this cover page story is relevant. Why this is relevant in the first place. So overnight, Wapol finds himself as an even bigger celebrity, not merely a successful shopkeeper, but a discoverer / creator of a wholly unknown metal. So because Wapol was sitting there just eating all of this random metal, and because of the way that the Baku Baku powers work, it was able to transform all of this different random metal and probably some plastics and whatever other else that he was eating and merge it into whatever, and then he could spit it out and he turned it into a toy. And because he's Wapol, he's just like, he's an idiot. And it's like doing that. Again, imagine what this could be used for by someone who actually cares about the environment, to get rid of a ton of stuff, to get rid of a bunch of the different, junk and everything else like that, like eat their way through a bunch of that stuff. That would just make it go away so quickly. And you don't have to worry about them getting sick, and you can pay them in trash and they'll eat it. I don't know exactly how well it tastes, but still, something. I mean, Wapol eats random crap anyway throughout the whole of Drum Island, so it's not like it's that surprising. But he makes the Wapol metal. And we'll get into a little bit more of the aftermath of that in regards to what that ends up being used for in a bit. But it's this interesting new metal that is very useful for these toys and everything else like that. So now it's just he's made even more money. And because he's Wapol, and he's just like, I don't know how I did that. Bring me more random metal and I'll see if I can do it again, is essentially. So, 19. Bigger is better. Wapol's Toy Shop. So, with his new fame and fortune, Wapol expands his humble store into a palace-sized toy emporium. So, it's just more. Because he's got an endless supply of trash. He can just work his way through whatever trash is there. Again, this could be so useful for someone who just wants to clean up the environment. Just have them go like, ooh, an aluminum can. Why do people litter? Just that would be great to get rid of a bunch of crap. A bunch of stuff. So he's just got like this new huge toy emporium. And so that's what he's been up to. And then we get 20, a titan of industry, Baku Factory. So, writing even higher in success, just higher and higher and higher, Wapol grows into a full-fledged toy tycoon, overseeing a more extravagant business than ever. Again, it's that whole it's the failing up concept that we see with Buggy. It's Buggy goes from being this like nobody in the East Blue, and now currently in the story he's one of the Yonko. Wapol goes from being this down and out, deposed, dethroned, beaten up king, and now he is, the super rich, extravagant businessman with probably more money than he would have ever had on Drum Island. 21. The Arvest Wapol Incorporated. I apologize, I don't know that word. Wapol's business reaches the peak of success as the centerpiece of a brand new brand business tycoon type of a thing. I can't pronounce the word Zaibatsu. I apologize. It's not something that quite translates into English very well. So he has just gained so much influence. He's got like this whole board of directors or whatever and underlings all under him again. That's what he's got. 22. My Glorious Essence takes Miss Universe as bride. So, this has now resulted, we'll get to Cinderella in a second. This has now resulted in Wapol has managed to, because he is now this corporate czar, he's regained all of his old swagger, and now he's even marrying a world-renowned beauty queen, Cinderella, who is it's a reference to Cinderella, but it's also a reference to the fact that like Kinder as in like keen is gold, so it's like Golderella's and she's a gold digger, which duh. You're definitely not marrying Wapol for his looks, or his brain, or his heart. She's marrying him for his wallet. I'm sorry, girl. You lost me there. I mean, I could kind of get the marrying the really, really rich, hot guy. At least he'd be fun to look at. Particularly if he's smart, that at least helps. I mean, I don't want to get married for anything less than love, but like, I mean, there are much better people you could have gone after, girl, but you played Wapol and go. Just, you have fun with that. So, final one. 23. The rebirth of terrible power. Wapol's insignia stretches to all corners of the world. So, Wapol stands with more wealth and status than he ever had as king of Drum Island. His business empire spreads to all corners of the world, and that's like how famous he becomes with like what he was able to accomplish. He has completely reverted to his old facets, and he ends up keeping the old junkyard dog as a reminder of his fall. So this dog, Hakuron, is essentially just, yeah, no, you're just a doll now that I'm just going to keep as a reminder. as punishment for the fact that you urinated on me when I was at my lowest. I feel sorry for this dog. So, we get a couple of aftermath things here. So, first of all, we, of course, get introduced to Miss Universe. We learn that there is a Miss Universe pageant in the One Piece world, which, to be fair, like, given the way that everybody acts, if, like, Boa Hancock entered that contest, she would just win hands down. Yeah, no argument here. She would just win hands down at that. Probably, depending on who else, Hiyori as Komurasaki or Shirahoshi or Vivi or Nami or Robin or whatever show up and are, help, competing in the contest as well. That's one thing. So we have that. They also, of course, by the time we meet Wapol again, the next time that we see him is at Reverie, or, heading off to Reverie. And we are then a little more introduced to Kinderella. And we, of course, find out that Wapol has built up and has now made his evil Black Drum Kingdom, as he calls it, because reasons. He also, of course, has just made so much money because of the Wapol metal and of the technology that's been able to make with it. And one of those people who has invested so much in the Wapol metal is Frankie. Because Frankie, unbeknownst to him, he does not know about, or to the best of our knowledge, he does not know about the connection between Chopper and Wapol. He does not know about that connection. I don't know if it's just like none of the other Straw Hats ever told him. He never sat down and asked Chopper, so how'd you meet Luffy? And Chopper, like, explained it all. It's just like, yeah, I was a reindeer, and then I ate a weird fruit, and then my dad, a doctor, adopted me, and then he died, kind of blew himself up, and then I got taken in by this other doctor, and we were on this really cold winter island that was called Drum Island. And then there was this guy named Wapol, who was the king, and he was horrid. Luffy beat him up. It's like, I don't know. It's like, just like a whole setup there for like how that would go. Again, it's like one of the questions of like, and I think Oda asked this or answered this at some point in time of like, do the Straw Hats talk to each other a lot about their past? And it's just like, some of them are like, yeah, they're willing to talk about their past. Some of them are a little less willing to talk about their past. And some of them, it just kind of depends on like their mood type of a thing, which is fair. But I mean, like, if I was on a pirate crew, I'd kind of be like, kind of like to learn about the backstories of some of my other crewmates, just so that way if there's anything that I need to know about, any people I should avoid that they might be aware of or something like that. But like, to the best of our knowledge, Frankie does not know about this connection between Wapol and Chopper. So what ends up happening is that during the 2-year time skip, while Frankie is on Baltimore, he ends up learning about like the Wapol metal, and he's like, "Oh, this stuff is really great. It's like this shape memory alloy. It's awesome. This is gonna be great." And he uses that to make the Iron Pirate General Frankie, the Frankie Shogun. He makes that. And he, uses that in order to, I think he also makes some adjustments to the Sunny with it as well, when he returns to Sabaody after the 2-year time skip. But, like, he uses it to make that. And there's, like, a few other things here and there that, kind of get mentioned to be Wapol metal, occasionally. And because like as I said, the next time that we see Wapol, because of all of this stuff that has been able to be made because of the advancements in the technology that he's developed, indirectly developed because of the Wapol metal, it has made changes. I think Vegapunk even mentioned something about Wapol metal on Egghead at some point. I think he mentioned something about it. I don't remember if Vegaforce 1 was made out of Wapol metal, or if there was something else that got mentioned that was made out of Wapol metal. But the most prominent thing that we've seen made out of it is the Frankie Shogun. Although I don't know if Chopper and Usopp would have different feelings about the Frankie Shogun if they found out about it being made of Wapol metal and this connection to Wapol. I don't know if they would have issue with it then, or if they would still be like, because by a technicality, the way that works, which just makes it worse, is Wapol has to eat everything, eat all of the various alloys, all the various metals, and then spit out the the new Wapol metal alloy. And then that has to be sent off. I hope it's thoroughly cleaned before it's sent off, because that's disgusting. To be fair, it's not like the stuff comes out covered in spit and saliva, so that's at least somewhat helpful. But yeah, the next time that we see Wapol, he is, of course, at the Reverie, and he's taunting Vivi, and he taunts Dalton, who is now, of course, fully the king of the Sakura Kingdom. Wapol is, of course, there because of Evil Black Drum Kingdom, because of his money. He has used it to essentially buy his way into the world government as one of the 50 monarchs that gets to go to Reverie and everything else like that. And so he's just very wealthy, and he's like trying to pester Vivi and pester Dalton, and neither of them are really taking it. They're bigger and better people. And then, of course, at least as of this recording, Wapol is one of the few people who knows about Emu because of what happens at the Reverie, and he sees Emu and the Gorosei attack Cobra, and then he ends up escaping with Vivi. And then the last time that we saw them, or as I said, as of the recording of this video, the last time that we saw them, they were with Morgans on the World Economic Times teapot balloon. And that was the last time that we saw him. He'd been getting information to Morgans over time, getting information from the Reverie and stuff like that, selling it to Morgans. And he's the one who took the picture of Cobra having been assassinated and everything else like that, or at least one of the times Cobra was shot before framed Sabo as the one who did it. So we kind of see that. And yeah, Wapol is just somehow now like this other character who kind of like Buggy, who you would think is fairly insignificant in the beginning of the story, but he's kind of now in the middle of it again. He's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to tell you what I saw at the Reverie because it's not good. He doesn't want to talk about Emu because he's terrified of him. Fair. I get it. I'm not going to blame Wapol for that one. I would be terrified of Emu as well. But still, that's what you get. So yeah, at least as of this recording, the last time we saw Wapol was then. I don't really know if Wapol's going to be back into this or going to be major in the story or not. I don't really want him to, but again, I don't know. Cinderella, she thought Wapol was cheating on her when he was running out of the Reverie, which was just funny with Vivi. She thought he was cheating on her. Which is just so effing funny. So she's probably just going to go back to Drum Island, or back to the Evil Black Drum Kingdom, and just cry on her piles of money. It's like, I'm the queen now. This is my stuff. So that's what we have here. Side note, I'm doing this video, and I'm also kind of doing a companion piece video to this. There is a guy on YouTube who's called the Chess Guy, and he really likes the character Chess from One Piece, I guess. And I kind of made a promise where I would do a video about Chess. So we got this video, and I am going to do a companion video to it that should be going up next week that is about Chess from One Piece. That is Wapol's, henchman, at least for a little while. So that's what we'll have there. Doesn't really have much else tie into this, but I figured this was the best video to kind of pair it with or have it be near. So that's what we have there. I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye!